This is Spears to the streets. 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 Spears to the. This is Spears to the streets. Get down to the beat, or get beat down in the street.
Amazingly, 2 WWE Hall of Famers have passed in the span of 7 days. So I believe it's only right that I make mention of the time I had been in the presence of both of these icons here on Spears to the Streets. On an apology tour for the anti-Negroid slur he hurled while on a private phone call about his daughter, I saw Hulk Hogan participate in a tag match with Snoop Dogg live at Staples Center in the early 2010s. Now, racial discrimination is a proxy of this European colonized landmass that boldly claims in its anagram format to be race. America equals I am race. So to say I would be mad at Hogan for his personal views towards my ethnic group would be hypocritical, since I have unsavory views towards all ethnic groups and have no problem including slurs in my own diction, should I need to weaponize those words. Nothing is more American than racism. And I can't help but feel stupidly patriotic whenever I hear Hogan's theme music, whether it was in person or when I dug through the WWE archives. Hogan was a real American, boisterous, ignorant, ready to brawl, and up to the task to pimp himself out before Cena had "Cena sucks" as a rallying chant, before the internet started going in on the successes of Bianca Belair and Mercedes Moné. You see, there would be no Hogan booking without Hogan. I have that one memory of seeing the legend perform the leg drop in the ring with an icon from my state of origin, who happens to be another WWE Hall of Famer as well. Respectably, there was a time when I would agree that WWE Hall of Famers would get too much airtime in the 2010s that drew attention away from the promotion's new prospects entrusted to keep the business going. Reflecting on that now, and after seeing Trish Stratus go for the women's championship against Tiffany Stratton earlier this month at Evolution in Atlanta, I have no problem with turning my back on that opinion I once supported. Without Hall of Famer appearances, I would have never seen Hogan, or Snoop for that matter, because even though I spent a little over 20 years from birth in the Golden State, it isn't like Snoop was just riding around my hood, making public appearances without it being a ticketed event. One year, Snoop is riding the wave of fuck Donald Trump. The next, he's DJing at Trump's inauguration. So I see why an unapologetic opportunist such as Snoop was chosen to reintroduce Hogan to my community on that day. And though I don't respect what they were there for, I appreciate the fact that the situation made it all serendipitously fall together to where I saw the 2 Hall of Famers under where the Lakers play their home games. The first sporting event I ever paid to go see, as soon as I crossed the threshold into my late teens. That's the magic of pro wrestling brought to me by WWE, and Hulk Hogan just happened to be a part of it. Now, when it came to Ozzy, I had to go to my birth city of Hollywood to go see this Hall of Famer at the Bowl during his last performance with Black Sabbath mid-2010s at the End Tour. Initially, I went in my Never Say Die t-shirt to support Tony Iommi, my favorite guitarist of all time, because I had heard he had just came down with a form of cancer. Terminal or otherwise, I didn't want to chance it. I had to see Sabbath. I started listening to Sabbath when I was in my first stint at college, a music school off Hollywood and Highland called Musicians Institute, that I found out fast after graduation was a scam and a huge waste of time, as if the other higher learning institutions I matriculated to after weren't just as bad. But still, that didn't stop me from creating unforgettable experiences there during that time in my city of birth. Off Hollywood and Highland, there was a Hot Topic nestled on the second floor, an alternative clothing store chain where I came up on the Never Say Die t-shirt years later in the Inland Empire, where Ozfest had their first show. They also sold vinyl, and thrown by the plain black colorway with the electrifying blood red font type, I copped a copy of We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll, and was thrown by these 8 to 10 minute heavy blues records that I had no idea rock and roll could sound like, since in my era, emo was the 2000s craze, and all those records were always around 3 minutes without an existential or esoteric metaphysical insight. Black Sabbath had all of that, and it had been almost a decade from my grade school days since I was into anything that was dubbed rock, since rap took its hold over me by the time I reached pubescence, speaking more to my social conditions with characters that resembled my ethnic makeup, as opposed to the Caucasoids waxing poetic about romantic and self-esteem issues in all black, but not black. I played We Sold Our Souls relentlessly in my El Monte foster home, a place I was still finagling for shelter after my emancipation as a late ward of the court. I would smoke weed, and my favorite place to roll up was inside the gatefold of the LP jacket, which when folded out featured a woman in a casket. Remnants of Sweet Leaf was still stuck in its spine by the time I sold my vinyl collection in the late 2010s. 666 Mafia's sampling of Sabbath also had a great influence on my decision to pick up Ozzy. There was a time when a couple of years later, during my time at Pasadena City College, I could be found riding around campus with nothing but 666 and Sabbath blasting through my Beats by Dre speakers, gold grills, pink mohawk, and battle jacket with my hand-stitched Ozzy patch on the top of the left breast pocket. At that point, I was so into the Ozzy version of Sabbath, I refused to even take a listen to Dio's catalog. And though I revere Holy Diver as one of the greatest albums of all time, and All the Fools Sailed Away as one of the best ballads I have ever heard, I still have yet to even touch, and may never touch, Sabbath's Mob Rules or Heaven and Hell. Yeah, Dio is leagues ahead of Bruce Dickinson, so I only listen to Paul Di'Anno's Killers and the eponymous Iron Maiden out of preference. But for sticking to the eponymous Black Sabbath through Never Say Die into 13, that was out of respect. Eventually, though, it was goodbye to friends, and I wanted to see why the Ozzy Roads mural was there on my birth city's Free Road Tunnel. I got in the Blizzard of Oz, and when my wife at the time left me in 2020, I quarantined in Kansas with Ozzy's catalog, along with the Smashing Pumpkins, who I saw 2 years later at the Memphis Fairgrounds, and used samples of their work on the digitapes I was putting out at that period. When my wife had first left me, though, a year or so prior, she bought me a copy of Savage Sabotage to go in my CD changer for my Acura we used to cruise around Wichita Falls. On my way to retrieve her at that time, running off of nothing but emotions for her, I embarked on my first cross-country trip behind the wheel, starting from Kansas back to Cali, and Shot in the Dark was notoriously in radio rotation on the frequencies I tuned into from state to state. When I think of the Hall of Famer, I reflect on these personal moments, as well as seeing him from those nosebleeds at the Hollywood Bowl, arms waving from side to side in a black cloak, while the Titanatron in the back of him played images from his younger, more flower power-based youth. Even though both Ozzy and Hogan were making their stamps decades before I was even born in this physical plane, I could say these two WWE Hall of Famers made an impression on my youth that I will take with me for the rest of my days in the physical. I'm honored to have seen these two icons in the flesh, so it was only a must that I write this memoriam piece here in Spirits to the Streets. I understand that Ozzy was inducted in a separate celebrity wing that Hogan was in, but I believe that he deserved the 10-belt salute as well, given the various arenas his haunting vocals tore down, roofed or not. Sports entertainment can look no further for its definition than Ozzy belting out patient number 9 before a Rams game. So a call for dual 10-belt salutes is only right, even if heaven can only hear me.
This is Spears to the Streets. 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 Spears to the streets, to the streets. Spears to the spears. Spears to the streets. Spears to the. This is spears to the streets. Get down to the beat, or get beat down in the street.